Assalamu alaikum. Abdan Sim is here, your English teacher. Today our topic is reading comprehension. So we are going to practice a reading passage. Let's start. Reading comprehension. Reading comprehension is the act of understanding what you are reading. Reading comprehension is the ability to process text, understand its meaning, and to integrate with what the reader already knows. Students use their processing capacity to read individual words. Students need to be able to decode what they read, make connections between what they read and what they already know. Think deeply about what they have read. So, three important points. You must know how to decode the reading, try to make connections, and think deeply about the passage you are going to read. Here is an important strategy to solve comprehension passage. So let's start and discuss a few points. Number 1. Read through the entire passage and the questions before you do anything. So when you are going to start your reading comprehension passage, read it thoroughly and try to understand it. Next, familiarize yourself with reading comprehension questions. So, read all the questions related to the paragraph and try to understand them. Next one, read, read and read. This is very important. The key to solve reading comprehension passage, read it and read it. When you read it, you will be able to solve it. Search for the answers. When you are satisfied with reading, then try to find out the answers. Search all the answers within the paragraph. Scan your paragraph and find out the answers. Look back at the paragraph when in doubt. When you have some confusion or a doubt regarding your answers, again scan your text and try to make it sure that your answers are correct. Mark or underline the answers. When you are sure about the answers, then underline them or mark them. Finally, when all is okay, your answers are correct, then write them in the given space. So here are a few points. If you will keep in your mind, they will help you in solving your comprehension passage. Let's start now. Comprehension passage. Today's topic is the river. The river flows down the mountain, across the plains and into the sea. Many animals live in or near different parts of the sea. The river begins high in the mountains. There is a lot of snow. The snow melts and the water moves down the mountainside. The water in the river flows quickly downhill. So, the passage is about river. River flows down the mountains. Many animals live near it. River begins in the mountains. Lots of snow is there. When the snow melts, river flows down the mountainside and quickly flows to the downhill. Next, when there is heavy rain, the river flows even faster. The river drops down over high rocks even before flowing on. The water in the river carries along rocks. When the river leaves the mountains, it winds across flat land called plains. The river is now wider and carries more mud and sand. The river flows into the sea. So when there is rain, there is more water in the river. River flows faster than before. It carries high rocks with it. The water in the rivers carries rocks with it. When the river leaves the mountains, it just flows to the plains. At the edge of the sea, the river drops all the mud and the sand that it has carried. Along, plants grow in the mud, animals feed in the muddy water, the water in the river flows into the sea. It is a long way from the mountains to the sea. So when the river flows, it carries with itself mud and sand. This mud and sand is very useful for plants and for animals. Plants grow in the mud and animals feed in muddy water. The water then flows into the sea. Now here are a few questions related to the paragraph. Question number 1. Where does the river flow down? Question number 2. What does happen when the snow melts? Question number 3. What does happen when there is heavy rain? Question number 3. What does happen when there is heavy rain? Question number 4. What is meant by flat land? Question number 5. What does happen when the river flows into the sea? So now let's try to find the answers. Question number 1. Where does the river flow down? The river flows down the mountains, across the plains and into the sea. So this is the answer for question 1. Question number 2. What does happen when the snow melts? So just try to find the answer. It's over there. The snow melts and the water moves down the mountainside and the water in the river flows quickly downhill. So find the answers and just underline them or highlight them. Question number 3. What does happen when there is heavy rain? When there is heavy rain, the river flows even faster. It's answer for question 3. When there is heavy rain, the river flows even faster. Next, question number 4. What is meant by flat land? Here is the answer for 4. Flat land is called plains. Okay, so flat land means plains. Just try to find the answers and underline them. Question number 5. What does happen when the river flows into the sea? It's here. The river drops all the mud and sand that it has carried along. Plants grow in the mud. Animals feed in the muddy water. So, when the river flows into the sea, the river drops all the mud and sand that it has carried along. Plants grow in the mud and animals feed in the muddy water. So, in this way, you can find the answers and just mark them. After marking the answer, then write them in the given space. Question number 1 over here. Where does the river flow down? Here's the answer. The river flows down the mountain, across the plains and into the sea. Where does the river flow down? The river flows down the mountains, across the plains and into the sea. Now move to question number 2. What does happen when there is heavy rain? So when there was heavy rain, what happens? When there is heavy rain, the river flows even faster. Okay? When there is heavy rain, the river flows even faster. Why it is so? Because rainwater is also added in it. Water increases. So when there is heavy rain, the river flows even faster. Question number 3. What does happen when the snow melts? When the snow melts. Obviously, when the snow melts, the amount of water will increase. So, when the snow melts, the water moves down the mountain side. When the snow melts, after melting the snow, it is converted into water and the water moves down the mountain side. Water moves where? Down the mountain side. Question number 4. What is meant by flatland? What is meant by flatland? So flatland means plains. What is meant by flatland? Flatland means plains. Question number 5. What does happen when the river flows into the sea? This is last question. What does happen when the river flows into the sea? What happens? The river drops all the mud and sand that it has carried along. Plants grow in the mud and animals feed in the muddy water. So, when the river flows, it brings with it the mud and sand. This mud and sand is very useful and beneficial for plants and also for the animals. Plants grow in the mud and animals feed in that muddy water. This way you can read your text properly. Just scan it, underline the important points, read your questions, search for the answers, make sure about the answers, underline them, highlight them, and after just making sure, write them in the given space. Hope you understand today's lesson. Practice it at home. Write it in your copies. I shall be back soon, inshallah. Take care. Allah Hafiz.